for the morning, former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark, former Deputy National Security Advisor to the late Vice President Cheney, Steve Yates, and former State Department official David Tafuri. Gentlemen, welcome to all three of you. I thank you for your time. David, let me just start with you and how the Pentagon, the president, should be weighing China's possible involvement here.
Well, this is very concerning, and China and Russia probably smell weakness here, and they want to see Iran continue to be defiant towards the United States. They're probably doing everything they can to help, but trying to do it undercover so that the U.S. does not recognize it and does not retaliate against China and Russia. But they have routes that they can get to Iran. I mean, the Caspian Sea from Russia. I'm not sure how China is going to be providing equipment if the blockade is successful, and that's something that we also need to watch. The purpose of the blockade, obviously, is to stop Iran from selling its oil, but it can also be used to prevent shipments into Iran, and the U.S. should be looking at that as a way to counter what China is doing to support Iran.
Steve, your research for the Heritage Foundation follows China, national security, of course, so I want you to weigh in as well. Reports indicate that a potential shipment of those Chinese shoulder missiles, also known as man pads, were sold to Iran. We just saw 2 American fighter jets shot down last week. What's being done to confirm whether Chinese missiles are being used against Israeli and American forces?
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of eyes watching to see what's happening. Just because there's an intelligence report out there doesn't mean it's happening. I spent most of my life in the world of intelligence, and a lot of it is hypothetical, and you're watching about managing risks. Certainly, if China is seen and caught actually engaged in this kind of behavior, it puts a pretty big twist on the president's visit to China that's only about a month away. And so the allegation is one thing. It's a serious concern if it's true. Man pads matter, but they are not necessarily a strategic weapon. It would be a tactical weapon like the recent past incident. And so I think it's one of those things that's a watching brief, but I don't think it's one of those things that changes the trajectory of where things are going with Iran.
General Clark, as I just mentioned off the top there, we're going to see this U.S. naval blockade take shape in just about an hour's time. Your read on that and your prediction as to where that gets us at the end of today or the end of this week. Are we back to fighting?
I don't think we're back to fighting yet. I think we're still in the stage of trying to establish a greater strength in the U.S. bargaining position. We were the demandeur for these talks, and so having done that, then we had to walk away. We have to have a response. Iran has come back with another threat, saying that if we block their ships, they'll hit ports inside the Persian Gulf. We have Pakistanis now in Saudi Arabia, some 13,000 with air defense there and fighter jets. So I think this can be damped down, but it remains to be seen. I wouldn't be surprised to see another round of shooting, but maybe a couple of days from now.
And General, we've also heard, the president's repeated disappointment in NATO. Take a listen to what he said of next steps this weekend.
And I will tell you, while we're on the subject, we're very disappointed with NATO. We're very, very disappointed that they didn't come. Now they want to come and they want to help with the strait, and it won't take long to clean it out. So we're going to clean out the strait, and they'll be able to use the strait in not too long a distance.
General, just given your expertise, what's at the president's disposal to sweep the strait? And do you think we'll see other allies step forward to help out?
I hope we will see other allies step forward. I don't think it's an easy task. It's not just mines. It's the ability to engage the ships if they come through there. So, yes, mine sweeping is one thing. Fighting off drones and cruise missiles and ballistic missiles and rockets from speedboats and so forth simultaneously, that's another matter. We didn't do it very well against the Houthis on the other side of Saudi Arabia some few months ago. And this is not going to be an easy problem. But remember, President Trump is speaking as a bargainer. He's negotiating with his tweets and his statements. He's setting forth a position of strength. He's trying to dissuade the Iranians from resisting. He wants to overpower them with the belief that they will fail. Problem is, the Iranians are capable of playing rope-a-dope, just hanging on and frustrating what we're doing. So this is far from settled right now.
David, when this blockade, gets staged, everything is in place, what will a win for Washington look like?
Well, it's going to depend on what Iran does in response. And I agree with General Clark that most likely part of their response will be to close down the Strait of Hormuz and ensure it's kept closed. They're going to use asymmetric warfare. They're going to use those mines that General Clark mentioned, seaborne drones, airborne drones, and everything they have to make it impossible for tankers to travel freely through the Strait of Hormuz. That's one response. That's going to irritate President Trump. That's going to have a negative impact on the global economy. And then let's see what else Iran does. They've made the threat that they're going to attack ports in the Gulf. That seems like something they could also do that they would see as retaliatory for the blockade. And it also depends on how successful the blockade is. There's no doubt that the U.S. probably has the capability to do a blockade because Iran's Navy has been mostly decimated by the attacks. But it's also going to take a lot of manpower, a lot of resources. And there's a question about how long we can maintain such a blockade.
Steve, let me give you the last word. How does China react to this blockade this morning, especially as we near the president's planned visit to speak with Xi?
Well, China does what it always does. It watches. They're not a doer. They're not a shaper. They watch and they see if there's advantage to weigh in one side or the other. They're pretty shrewd at looking at situations, whether they see someone as a winner or a loser. I don't think that Beijing sees Iran as a winner at this point, and they're being very, very cautious about how openly they're associated. And so I think a lot comes down to Iran having had the threat of holding the strait closed, but that's really been a threat. If they actually use force to keep that threat, that changes the calculus for Arab allies and a lot of others. And that's an untested proposition up till now.
Well, a consequential morning ahead, to say the very least. But Steve Yates, David Tafuri, General Wesley Clark, thank you all so very much. Have a wonderful Monday.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay, still ahead, a Christian summer